If you buy flour in the UK or anything made with flour, the ingredients in that flour are about to change. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what is happening, what the government is requiring, what that means for us as flour and bread buyers, what it means if we are bread makers, what it means if we're not and we might want to become a bread baker, who likes this, who doesn't like it, and some of the talk around it, the lay of the land with these changes that are coming. My goal is not to create fear, because that is not how I live my life. We do what we can and we don't sweat what we can't do. I am not a kind of the government is out to get us person, but I do believe in being informed in what we eat so that we can just make the best choices, so that I can make the best choices for my home, you can make the best choices for your home, and hopefully this video will give you what you need to know or what you need to research further with the changes that are coming up. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kezia. Welcome to my kitchen table. My goal on the internet is to make lower footprint, sustainable living feel a bit less complicated, a bit more budget friendly, and just a whole lot more normal in a world where that is so often not the case. And we talk a lot about food because that's where a lot of our budgets go, and a place we really think about sustainability. And one thing we do within that is make all of our own bread products from these big sacks of flour. And so I talk a lot about buying flour and making our own bread products. So with what that flour contains about to change, I thought we should dive in and talk about it. For context, I am not a medical professional. I am not a food scientist. And so don't read any of this through the lens that I might have that kind of expertise. I am a home baker. I have run a micro bakery. I think a lot about everything that comes into our home in terms of sourcing and ethics and impact, sustainability, and that goes for flour as well. Okay, so firstly, what even is changing? Well, since about after the Second World War, the UK and many countries around the world have added things to white flour. I think this started in the wake of rationing and things not being available in the UK, diets declining, and so the UK started fortifying different things, one being white flour. We've done it for a long time. Currently in our flour, we have calcium carbonate, calcium, iron, niacin, and thiamine. Those are the vitamins that go into all flour, all white flour currently. But from December of this year, white flour will be required in the UK to be supplemented with folic acid. This has been debated in the UK for a long time, about the last 20 years. Many countries around the world are already doing this. Canada, Australia, a whole host of countries. It is really the norm in a lot of countries. So why is it happening? Folic acid is the synthetic form of vitamin B9, all those B vitamins that we see in different things. It is a naturally occurring thing, folate, but the folic acid is the synthetic form. It is made in a lab. It is mostly made in China, and then it is added to food so that the body gets B9. It is not quite the same, which is where some of the story around this comes from. It is not quite the same as naturally occurring folate, but that is what it is. It is supplementing B9 folic acid by adding it to white flour. Most of us probably think of folic acid in terms of pregnancy, and it's one of the first things that you're told to have if you might become pregnant. Make sure you get enough folic acid, but everyone needs it. It's important in brain health, cell division, lots of different things, and you get it a lot in lentils and dark leafy greens. And so if you have seen any of our What We Eat in a Week videos, we eat a diet that is quite high in naturally occurring folate. A lack of vitamin B9 causes a lot of neural tube defects, and that is the primary reason that it is being added to flour. And research has shown that it is going to bring down the number of babies born with neural tube defects in the UK by about 200 a year. So a very significant number. So that is the driver behind why this is happening. And in terms of why flour, most people in the UK eat white flour every day. And research from countries that have been doing this for a long time has shown that supplementation, fortifying flour with synthetic folic acid has been effective in reducing the number of babies born with neural tube defects. This is happening in other countries, so the evidence can be seen of what it does, and it is well studied. So that is the government's driver behind why. Side note, we're having a UK heat wave. It's 30-something degrees, and there's no air conditioning. So if my face looks a little sweaty, it is. If you hear a fly or see a fly, they are coming through the doors, which are all open everywhere. But moving on. So that is why it is happening, but why is this not entirely being seen as a good thing? The Soil Association have come out and said that they do not like this, the organic certification. Their statement was, we do not support the incoming mandate. The priority instead should be an environment in which healthy diets based around minimally processed foods are affordable and available to everyone. Organic standards currently are that organic does not support fortification supplementation of foods and flours unless it's mandated by government, in which case foods can keep their organic status but have things added into them. They do, though, go on to say, we do recognize, however, that in the absence of a cohesive food strategy and in the context of folate deficiencies, fortification of non-wholemeal wheat flour might provide benefit for vulnerable groups. But we don't see fortification as the ideal long-term solution. So in addition to the mandate, the Soil Association would like to see a clear commitment from the government too, and then it goes on to talk about education and teaching people from a young age about healthy diets. It's a very broad topic, which we won't go into, but I think so a lot of people saying it's bad are not looking at the whole story. But I'm not saying it's good. I just think we need to sometimes not kind of tweet short excerpts or opinions on things like this, because it just is more complicated, as is shown by that statement. We recognize this, but we think there's a better way. While this is happening, maybe we could do this at the same time. It's complicated. So not everyone likes this, but why do we not? So we've got the organic certifications who just don't like the introduction of fortification to products. So it kind of goes against the organic thing, even though they do allow it if it's mandated. Then we've also got people who just don't like the government adding things to our food, no matter what it is. They don't want food interfered with in any way. That's another group of people who are not liking this. But one of the biggest concerns with this is the fact that folic acid is different from naturally occurring folate, and the way that our bodies might process it might be different. I have linked below a lot of studies that talk about investigating this issue. I, like I said, am not an expert, but there is a gene mutation that many people have, the MTFHR mutation, I think it is. That means that the way you process folic acid is different. They don't have the same ability to convert folic acid into what it needs to be converted into for the body to use it. So the ideal would be that we convert it, we can use it, and everything is great. But if you have this gene mutation, you can't convert it in the same way, which means you're then not actually getting the folate that you need. And so the jobs that folate needs to do in the body can't be done as effectively, including important detox pathways and different things in the body. So this really is most people's concern, is that for the people who have this gene mutation, what do they do if they're then consuming a lot of folic acid? There is one other place that people are not keen about this, which is that there are certain people that just shouldn't have a lot of folic acid, and this is listed even on the NHS website. And so there are a number of different people who are concerned that all white flour is going to have folic acid in it. And if you are going to eat white flour, it is going to be very hard to avoid folic acid, which might then cause problems for some people. So white flour is being supplemented with synthetic folic acid. It's being done to reduce the number of neural tube defects, which is a massively important thing. I know personally, folic acid was something I made sure I got very early on, and before becoming pregnant, each time that I was pregnant, is something I actually felt a lot of anxiety about personally, making sure I had enough folic acid in my diet. So this one, I feel personally, for some reason, it is being added to white flour at a level that I wonder about in terms of maximums. The Soil Association is not particularly keen on it, and there are a lot of people that are worried about it in terms of whether bodies can process it and what it is going to do. So, is there a way to avoid it if we want to? The first thing here to note that I think is really important is it is not being snuck into our food. It is going to be labeled. Every fortifying ingredient, every fortification, every supplementation that happens to our food in the UK, it has to be labeled. So you will see it when it says wheat flour, it will then go on to show what is in the wheat flour. So it is not going to be hidden. If you read ingredients, you will see that it is there. It's not being hidden. We will all know what products it's in and what products it is not in. So if you read ingredients, you have the power to choose. So there are ways to avoid this if you want to, or you feel like you should, or if you're someone who shouldn't be eating synthetic folic acid. Number one, this only applies to wheat flour. It doesn't apply to any other flours. So although other things are labeled flour, almond flour, even spelt flour, gluten-free flour, cassava flour, corn flour, none of those come under this mandate. It is just for wheat flour. Also, though, it only applies to white flour. That's another way to opt out. Now, obviously, this also means for bread products that you're eating as well. So white pasta, something that you might buy white more often and not think about, white sauces, different things like that. They will have white flour, but all wholemeal flour is not going to be fortified, no folic acid there. Interestingly, kind of religious bread products are also exempted, which I think is interesting. But the one that is going to be most interesting to the majority of people trying to avoid folic acid, I think, is that small mills. So mills in the UK that produce under 500 tons of flour per year are not required to adhere to the fortification mandate. So that doesn't mean they won't, it means they don't have to. So you're still going to want to ask, look at ingredients and things like that, but they do not have to add it. If you have a local mill, you can ask them. In terms of actual mills in the UK, we get our flour from Dove's Farm, who are a small family run but big farm. They're going to have folic acid in their white flour. Again, not their wholemeal, not their spelt, not their gluten-free flours. The other place that we have ordered from is Stoats Farm in the UK. I found them because we did a challenge to eat only from the UK. And I found that most mills in the UK, either you have to go and pick it up or they do use flour from abroad. Stoats was the only mill in the UK that delivered organic UK grown flour that I could find. They are small enough that they do not have to add folic acid. So if you want white flour without folic acid in it, you can order from them. They are a bit more expensive than Dove's. It is more expensive than the supermarket, but that is another option too. One other note on avoiding it that I thought was interesting is Dr. Vanessa Kimball. She is a big bread person. She got her doctorate in how bread affects our gut. She believes, and she was very careful to not say that it is what is happening, but she believes that the sourdough process might break down folic acid, the synthetic folic acid. So if you want the folic acid, don't make sourdough from your white flour. But potentially, if you are buying sourdough made from white flour that does have it in, there will be a lower amount, but it's a very potentially, allegedly, I don't know, but that is, she is a real expert in that. And I just thought that was interesting to note. So what are we doing in our family? I have 3 big boxes of 25 kilogram bags of flour in my kitchen from a place that is organic. They are more careful about the environment, but they will be supplementing their flour, or they do already. Some places are already doing it. So what are we going to do in our family? The first thing that I'm going to do is not feel fear. And I think depending on where you found this information from, it might be a fear-mongering post somewhere, and not to negate people's real fear. There are people that shouldn't consume folic acid, and for them, there really is a fear around this. But I think in terms of how we operate in our home, I think when I hear these things, I try to go, okay, how are we going to do our best with this? What does best look like for our family? And then we try really hard to do the things we can do, or the things that really matter, and then we just don't sweat the rest. So this was a really good reminder to me, reading this, that we are consuming probably more white flour than I would choose to. Folic acid and folate debate aside, there is more nutrition in brown flour. That's the whole reason we're supplementing the white flour, is because there's vitamins and minerals in that husk of the grain. And I've let more white flour creep into our diet. And actually, I want us to be eating as much whole grain as we can. We love it. Whole grain bread is delicious. I've just kind of slipped a different direction. So it was a good reminder to go, actually, I want all that nutrition for our family. I want to move back to eating more whole grain and decrease the amount of white flour that we eat anyway. So that was kind of my first approach to this. Secondly, I don't know if we have that MTHFR, is that right, mutation in our family. we don't know if we have it. I might buy the white flour that we do buy from Stoats. Go back. I also like that they're a UK grown organic small farm. We might go back to that. We might go back to doing that. Now, at the same time, we just picked up a whole load of loaves from a community fridge that were waste bread. Do I know that that bread is sprayed with things that probably we don't want to consume a ton of? Yes, I do. Did I pick up the waste bread anyway and put it in my kids' lunchboxes? Yes, I did. We'll continue to see how the research goes. It feels like a very evolving area. There are more and more studies saying we need to be looking into the potential adverse effects a little bit more, but not enough definitive to have it seem like a better idea not to fortify than to fortify for the sake of decreasing neural tube defects. So I think I'm going to have a loose approach. I don't think it's bad for everybody. I don't think the government has made a bad decision, but I think we all get to look at ourselves within that. Is this a more complex topic than I have covered? Absolutely it is. I was talking to a nutritionist friend of mine. She was talking much more in depth, but I am not qualified to talk about that. So this is just an overview from the point of view of a home baker who consumes a lot of flour, cares about what we eat from a number of different standpoints, but also wants to not spread fear and just highlight the issue so we can all make the best choices for ourselves and our homes, or go do more research and ask a professional if you feel like that is warranted for your life. So that's where we are. If you do want to start making your own bread, you're going to want to watch this video that I'm going to put on the screen here, because it is one basic recipe that you can use to make so many different things, from pizza to bagels to bread to cinnamon rolls. It makes it very easy to switch over to making your own bread product. So that is there for you. You can of course hit subscribe, and I will see you in another video sometime soon, but I hope that that has given you a little bit more information. My ducks are at the window. I hope that that has given you a little bit more information to feel powerful over making the right choice. And so thanks for joining, and I will see you in another video sometime soon.